Hi, I'm Kevin with DIGGA North America. We're a manufacturer of construction equipment attachments right here in Dyersville, Iowa. Today we're going to be talking about one of our new products, a full-size skid steer power rake. You can call it a soil conditioner, Harley rake, power rake, but that's what we're going to be discussing this morning. Here in just a second, I'll show you some of the new features of our product. So here we have the 72-inch manual pivot power rake soil conditioner from DIGGA. Some of the key features on this attachment is, as you notice, these legs are very robust, more robust than any other manufacturer's unit on the market. Of course, they fold up on these heavy pins. Pop a pin, flip it up, and lock it down, and it stores in a much smaller footprint. Along with that, both sides are completely covered on all four sides. On this side is where the bearing is. As you can see, there's a trap door here. You unscrew and flip up to grease the bearing. On the other side, where the motor is, it's likewise. It's covered on all four sides. Mentioning the motor, we have the largest motor on our machine available. You can use a standard flow machine, or because we're using such a large hydraulic motor, Eaton motor, you can use a high flow machine, which is what this machine that thanks to Ultimate Rentals in Grove City, PA, they were kind enough to rent it to me for today's event. And so let me get back to the pivot. So this is a manual pivot unit. Of course, we also offer a hydraulic pivot, but this one is simple, manual pivot. But what I want to show you is right here. Our pivot pin is 100 millimeter. 100 millimeters is 4 inches. It is a machined pin, 4 inches in diameter, bigger than any other pin in the market. So that is never going to go bad. I had taken off the cover just to show you that. In addition to that, as you can see, there are steps all along the unit. One of the issues that operators like yourselves may have is it's difficult to get into the cab of the skid steer because there's nowhere to step. But here you've got steps here, steps here, steps here, and you can jump in the cab. Very simple. See that? Just like that, and swing into the cab. Along with that, look down here. We have it set right now in the float position. So the unit itself will float, but if you prefer a fixed position, you just curl this forward, stick the pin in here, and then it's fixed as well. So you can operate it in a fixed position or in a floating position. And finally, this is something I don't think anybody has on an attachment like this, is we're thinking of the operator. When you're trailering, sometimes it's difficult, especially if you just have the attachment on the trailer. So we've incorporated 4 tie-down points on each side of the power rake. So there's a tie-down point here, there's a right here, there's a tie-down point here, there's a tie-down point here, and there's a tie-down point right here. So you have 4 total tie-down points on each side of the rake. So that should keep you safe on the highways. So one other thing that I want to mention about any soil conditioner power rake is the deflector. They'll all have some form of rubber here by the name tells you it deflects any rocks, debris, or anything like that that is any larger. These are usually set about 1.5 inches higher than the drum. So anything larger than 1.5 inches will get thrown forward if you're going forward, and will get thrown backwards when you're going in reverse. Now ours is very heavy rubber. In fact, it's heavy enough that when it's worn, you can flip it over and use the other side. I just want to mention one thing, and many of you, I'm sure, know this, but I'm going to mention it anyway. When you're going forward, make sure that the drum is going back towards the cab. If you're going in reverse, it's the opposite. If you're going in reverse, make sure the drum is rotating away from the cab. That's the way these work. And then when you get to the end of the row, you'll have the debris sitting there ready to scoop up. So I think we've thought of everything that might be an issue and overcame all those issues. So let's get started and churn up some gravel. So this is today's project. Rather than haul in another load of gravel, which I've done for the last 24 years, I'm going to be reconditioning the gravel driveway. It's about 500 feet. Over time, the grass has grown in from the sides. It's about 2 feet narrower than it should be. So we're going to recondition this driveway and address some of these potholes at the end of the driveway that keep appearing, and we're going to eliminate those by the end of the day. The driveway was put in with fabric with about a foot of shale base and then 2B limestone that we continue to keep adding gravel over time, which becomes quite expensive after a while. So we will be reconditioning the driveway with the soil conditioner. 2.5 hours later, and this is the after. Thanks for watching.